Welcome to the show, everyone. Um, Cowboy Reed's fired up about the Broncos. He's just running around like a madman right now. We had to get the audio right. We good now? Okay. Nolan asked me what was worse, that slate or the Steelers uniforms, and I'm not qualified to say because I like the Steelers uniforms. I mean, everybody's got their kinks. I got a little. I like those uniforms. They're not perfect. The yellow lids, I don't know what else you would do, but the yellow lids aren't great. And, by, chain reaction, the damn Packers are in those awful all whites. I know some people like them, but look closely. Yeah, not a good slate of football. One score game, just one so far today, which means tonight's got to be a banger. It just does. And honestly, NFL, you do that again, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to keep watching. I'm not going to be real happy about it, though, because that was gross. What wasn't gross? If you were a Broncos fan or you were an Eagles fan, those are the two teams that had the big statement wins and the 1 and the 4s, in my opinion. Pretty good day for you. Pretty good day to be an Eagles fan. Eagles kind of looking like they got on track, found their run game, ran duo like the third play of the game. It was actually the second play of the game for like 65 yards, got the double on the doubles in the backer's lap. He can't get over the top. And, you see something. Remember last week we talked about Denver attacking the perimeter with screens and that sort of stuff. Last week against the Giants, that was part of the game plan because the secondary does take bad angles. And frankly, I saw a lot of that today in the run game. Support players just not great. Obviously, they're down some guys. But I'm not gonna rain on the Eagles parade with the run game because that looked a lot more like it. And I think Patullo's kind of figuring some things out. I'm not saying he's arrived or anything like that. Just what a different game that was than the one 2 weeks ago, which just goes to show you it's really hard to beat a team twice, especially when the other team is better than you in your division, especially inside of a month. And it felt like to me when the Giants beat the Eagles, there's a sentiment that they'd arrived. We certainly kind of gave Jaxson Dart his due after that game and said, hey, guy looks like a good football player. I still maintain he looks like a good football player. He is a very young football player. But in this game, the Eagles just came to play. Eagles came to play flat out. I thought, let me get to my Eagles notes here. The run game starts everything. Second play of the game, hitting that thing. They got in big personnel a lot more. In this football game, they were under center, a lot of tight ends on the field. I like that look for them. Obviously, part of it's out of necessity because A.J. Brown's hurt or what have you. And they just looked a lot more at ease doing that. And, something that I thought was great was, hey, Saquon looked more like himself, that sort of thing. But when he left the game with a hamstring, and hopefully that's no big deal. I haven't really followed today if you guys have heard anything about that. But was it a groin? Leaves the game, of course, like 3 short of the prop for carries. That's why you do yards, not carries, you big dummy. And then Bigsby was having to finish that game off and also was spelling him at different points of the game and looked really good. I thought Bigsby looked the best he looked all season. I thought the run game in general looked the best it looked all season. I thought the defense did a great job of just harassing Jaxson Dart. Getting that guy down is a challenge. You saw at one point, like Jalix Hunt, who's a great athlete, had a shot at him rolling right, couldn't get him. But the swarm mentality of that defense, you saw Jalen Carter getting his first sack on the season. Dude's just hanging in there. And Vic playing zone behind that defensive line. And, in the last game, when they did not have, for much of the game, Quinyon Mitchell and did not have Jalen Carter because of the heel pregame, they played a lot more man. And in this game, it felt to me like they were a little bit less aggressive in that right, and the pass rush got after it, and they ended up winning the game. Now, a lot of the conversation here is going to be about the officiating. I'll get there in a second. But the Giants, man, down to, who was it, Corey Black. I mean, they're throwing jump balls to Jahan Dotson and Skattebo getting hurt early in this game. Just wasn't their day. Don't think you're going to win the game if the calls go your way. But certainly some calls, that some people might think are 50-50 went the other way. I don't think the Giants had any chance in this game, the way the Eagles came out and played today. Now, let's talk about the calls that you're wanting to hear me talk about. I thought the Giants got robbed on the tush push. Certainly the game plays out a little bit differently in sequence, if that changes, but the whistle was the whistle. And that's the problem. If you're going to – I see so many tush pushes where the forward progress is, 3, 4, 5 seconds. I understand the case the Giants fans would make that Thibodeau pulled that ball out. And I think he did. Didn't go their way. Now, the Slayton OPI, I see why that's called. I really do. And honestly, I try to be boldly objective in these situations and not take the Eagles' side in every damn situation, just so you know. I thought Slayton pushed off. There was some hand fighting going on. I think one thing that didn't help Slayton is that Slayton went to look for the ball a little bit early. Quinyon Mitchell slows down to try to track the ball, and at that point, the arm gets extended. I don't know that he was forcefully pushing him, but when a referee sees that extension, he's gonna call it. I saw, at least in real time, during the game, looking at it from the far sideline where the TV cameras were, I did think it was a push off, which is why I feel kind of gaslit logging on, which you should never do, to kind of compare mental notes with people. It's amazing. It's like everybody's looking at the same picture and they're all seeing something different, which tells you something. But I did look at it a few times, and I could certainly see how that call went their way. Now, there wasn't offsides. That probably was a false start in that game. And the Dart arm thing, I got to go back and look at it more. But I guess the point I'm making is I'm not trying to prove a point either way. The officiating in the league is shitty. It's I don't know if it's getting worse. I say this a lot, and I don't think it's in any one direction. I've been pretty consistent that way, and when you watch other games, you kind of feel the same way. I think it's any given day who's gonna get. If there's 5 bad calls in a game, it's like I pick favorites. I pick against the spread every week with Macon and Steve, and I was up big, and then the last 2-3 weeks I kind of suck. I've been 3-2, 2-3, whatever, and today sucked too. The whole Lamar Jackson thing kind of bit me no, not the Lamar Jackson thing. The Penix thing bit me in the ass. Fuck, gave out Atlanta earlier in the week. But the whole point is, when there's such a small sample size, you get 3-4 bad calls in a game. It's kind of arbitrary who gets the edge. You know what I'm saying? If 1 week the Eagles get 3 of them, the next week they're going to get 2 out of 5 or maybe 1 out of 5. And that night their fans are going to go fucking nuts, and vice versa the next week. So, I don't want to do that whole thing. I just think officiating's been really poor. And I know they have a really hard job to do out there, but I've said this before. It kind of feels like in our game now, our vantage point is better than ever. There's a million cameras. There's so many cameras. Will Reichert is hitting the cable twice in a single season. Oh, whoops. NFL just radioed in, said I can't say that. Shout out to Al Michaels. But, there's so many fucking cameras. We see everything. We see it better than the refs. And we have the advantage of looking at it in retrospect. Because there's all types of calls that we see in real time, think they're one way. And if we were the officials, we damn sure would have been wrong. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think it's kind of uniformly bad. And I don't know what they got to do to fix it, because the vantage points are only going to improve. I heard Goodell talking about using AI to improve officiating. I don't know where we're going, but it should be better. So the Eagles got the win there, and the Broncos in the 4 p.m., to add insult to injury, if you're an NFC East person and you don't like the Eagles, Dallas got smacked. And just this week, we were singing Dallas's praises, talking about where they can go if they improve on defense through maybe a trade. Well, then you hear, Dallas is trying to get Crosby, they're trying to get Hendrickson, and they're kind of told kick rocks. Well, maybe the crushing defeat that the Bengals suffered today would, kind of encourage a trade that they're on the edge about. But depending on how this game goes Sunday night with the Steelers, they're really not out of it, although the Ravens showed some fight today. But the point being, Like, this is a team that was really looking for some edge rush support. Don't know if they'll get it in a really big way. Myles Garrett had fucking 5 sacks today. He's slamming his helmet at the end of the game. I know that he's the guy that inked that contract, so you're not supposed to feel sorry for him, but damn, it's hard for me to watch a rusher kind of rot away in a situation like that. And judging by, Myles Garrett with a helmet in his hand is a whole thing, isn't it? Remember, and then remember that he dropped his helmet the next year and tackle for the Steelers was like somebody picked up. He reached down to grab somebody else's helmet, and the Steelers guys were like, "Hey, bro, snap out of it." He was just trying to hand the helmet back to a guy, but like he slammed the fuck out of his helmet today. And on a day where we're talking about like other teams needing pass rush, and that would be a blockbuster trade. But the point is, I don't know who's walking through that door for Dallas. This is the worst their defense is going to look, and their defense isn't very good anyways. Secondary is totally depleted. I mean, they looked awful. It was like 2x what the freaking Giants were dealing with. There were safeties before this game. I think they were down to like the third or fourth safety, and by midway through the game, they don't have any more safeties, can't have any more injuries. Just an ugly deal. And I thought more than anything, Dallas off a big win where they played a lot of man last week, couldn't do that this week. Bo Nix extending plays hard on rushers. When you're not getting home, you got to drop more people because your defensive backs are kind of suspect because some of them are off the street. Some of them haven't played football before, right, like in the NFL. So you're rushing your ass off at altitude, huffing and puffing, and Bo Nix is just he's baking a cake back there. And, when they went verticals, like there was always somebody open that he could throw the ball to. And I'm not taking away from Bo Nix. I'm just saying that before I praise him because I thought the ball placement for him was really good today. Part of it is who you're playing against, but all you can do is make the fucking throw. You can't do any better than that. And he made the throws, and he made throws in the end zone that were dimes. Like the one to Bryant was a beautiful ball. And the other thing about that is on a day like today, good to see your rookies stepping up, when you're Denver. I thought last week the supporting cast let the offense down, Bo Nix included, but we talked about on the perimeter a lot of screens that weren't blocked for well, little detail things that they fucked up. Today it felt like, and I kind of wondered what Sean Payton knows the deal, but how the players would respond. Last week, big emotional game, right? Big comeback. You get a win, but it kind of like covers up a lot of your deficiencies, things you didn't do well. So you kind of escape a situation like that, and maybe you get a little fat and happy around the facility this week. Well, maybe it turned out that they were kind of overlooking the Giants in the first half, looking forward to Dallas, right? Because they played this game like they lost last week, and that's kind of how they should have been. And I think Sean Payton probably did a great job this week of setting a tone of like, I know y'all got away with it last week, but we did not fucking play well. And those guys came out this week and played really well. Dak was under some pressure, made some poor throws, made some poor decisions. This was the most human this offense has looked in honestly since they played Chicago, which is a weird thing to say. So hats off to Denver defense, and they did it down Surtain for much of the game, and they did it with Bo Nix throwing a pick almost immediately in the game. But Harvey, who caught a crack toss or carried a crack toss in the end zone early in the game, and then had the ball in the Wildcat low red situation. By the way, you're definitely going to see him throw the football at some point this year, right? He was a college quarterback, came into college at Virginia as a quarterback, and then we let him go. He went somewhere else. So, seeing Bryant step up, really good. Seeing that offensive line against a unit like that, it kind of highlights the power that those guys play with. Miners leading through the B gap, that sort of thing. So just a really impressive day for them. They couldn't have played much better offensively. Really, they couldn't have. And for Dallas, that secondary is in bad shape. You want Eberflus to play man. I don't know that he can, in that situation. I know they did a lot of it last week, but they played the Commanders who were down multiple guys outside. So the thing where, in Dallas in a game like this, you kind of had to know coming in, and I thought they'd be able to hang with Denver's defense a little bit better. You had to know you'd have to play a lot more close to perfect. And that's fucked up to say. I didn't know that it would be that ugly defensively for Dallas, but those injuries popped up as the week went on. And, if you're Dallas, you get in the red zone at the beginning of the game, you're seeing man coverage, maybe try one of the linebackers, or run the fucking ball in the end zone. And at the end of the half, Dak gets greedy, throws a pick. There were just little moments where, if they'd have done things a little bit better, they might have been in this game. It kind of reminded me of the way that Indy put a lot of pressure on the Chargers last week, and the Chargers were always like 2 scores away, right? But the difference is the Chargers were actually able to put together some really nice drives, but Dallas just couldn't do that with regularity against this defense. So, and Riley Moss, feel for the dude. He just is his hands are in the wrong place sometimes. Kind of got picked on a little bit today. Great player, but, he's used to the ball getting thrown at him because of who he plays opposite. And on a day like today against 2 very good wide receivers like that, he was flagged a couple times. And the Milton throw just deserves mention. That was a fucking BB. That was an amazing throw. So, and one more thing, Sean Payton last week talked about, people said, hey, his play calling sucked. The one thing that I thought he was last week was conservative in a lot of situations. In this game, they were a lot more aggressive. Now, a lot of that is because Dallas was down so many dudes in the back end. But it's a good look on them being a little bit more aggressive. They're certainly balanced, but they took shots and they went and got it. The other stuff that happened. Shit, what else happened? Just opening the chat to see what else you guys want to talk about. Oh, and by the way, I just saw Skattebo. The injury was terrible. I mean, that dude, I think whatever team you root for, you enjoy watching him play. He's just kind of he's got a magnetism to him, plays really hard. Obviously, he's kind of a meathead, headbutting people and that sort of thing. But, he's a football player. And to see him kind of go down like that, it was immediate. He tapped that helmet very calmly, by the way. It's amazing what happens to you when you're in shock because his ankle's fucking sideways. And that's another thing. When you're a young team that's kind of living off vibes, I'm not saying you're not executing, not doing a great job, but it was such a vibey couple weeks for them where, you got young players, making big plays, beating the Eagles, going to Denver, coming out hot and the whole thing. And there's some back and forth between, the Broncos rushers and Jaxson Dart. That injury really just deflated them. So it's tough to see for any football fan and certainly for Giants fans who have dealt with the neighbor's injury and now that. So Houston with a big win. And I said this on the show this week. I said, I really want to give these guys out. They, it doesn't make much sense, but the line was tight and Houston's a totally different team at home. And I think that's what happened is you got those rushers teeing off a little bit. I mean, I think Anderson, and freaking Hunter, Danielle Hunter fucking dominated in that game. But the problem is, people look at that and say he only had 2 sacks. Well, I think they probably accounted for about 18, 20 pressures between the 2 of them. Just total studs. And they play faster on turf. They play faster at home. They played so poorly for anybody that stayed up till fucking 2 a.m. the other night. They played so poorly I wanted to puke. And the way they played today, the way CJ Stroud looked, and he sailed some balls, but he looked really good in the pocket, possessed the football in the first half. I think we were looking at earlier, it had to be, well over 20 minutes of time possession, 24 and a half minutes of time possession. Geez, that is a lot of yellow. Why aren't they wearing pants? Oh, it's the nude. They're nude. It's the nude pants. The wide shot's not kind of these uniforms, but I do like the jerseys. So, I thought good day with Collins out to get Nolan involved. Beautiful ball in the deep ball. Higgins, you had Hutchinson, who was ripped that ball into him on 3rd and 7 in the red zone with pressure in his face. I thought it was encouraging to see that. It was a little confidence builder for them. They kind of had that a few weeks ago against Baltimore, but San Francisco, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Our good football team has been beating a lot of good football teams. If you're D'Amico, you go in the locker room and you say, hey, guys, this is what we can look like every week. Now, the caveat is every week that we play somebody who can't rush the passer, because Stroud has been under attack, and today he wasn't even sacked. And I got to give it the offensive line credit, but just not a great pass rush unit. Christian McCaffrey, though, 8 yards at the half, 25 yards rushing on the day. Like, just a defensive win for Houston. And the last little bit is I feel very good for the Jets. I feel very good for Justin Fields with everything he went through this week. You forget guys are, I know guys are getting paid a lot of money and stuff, but you forget guys are kind of human beings about shit. And hearing him talk about, what the game meant to him after the game, and watching him have to answer a question this week about, hey, did you hear your owner basically says that you're terrible? I mean, this for a guy that was kind of run out of Chicago, and maybe rightfully so, but obviously the new quarterback doesn't fix everything for the Bears. Look at today. Justin Fields was not good enough in Chicago. He had his little stint in Pittsburgh, where he gets his hopes up and then he's pulled for Russ and that sort of thing. And to end up in New York, it was a really, really tough draw. Now, making a lot of money doing it, but when the owner kind of calls you out, that's pretty embarrassing shit. And, for him today to come through and put up damn near 40 points on, I know it's the Bengals defense, and we'll look at it some more tonight, but just really impressive. And good for that coaching staff, too, because they've taken it on the chin a lot. Ironically, Aaron Glenn, who's coached his ass off on defense the last few weeks, they damn near give up 40 points themselves, but the offense taking a turn and making it happen. When you're losing in the NFL and, it feels like every week it's the same thing. I've been on teams like that. It can be very hopeless. It can affect your mental health. It can fuck you up good. And for those guys, just to get one night where they don't feel like they're the worst fucking football players on the planet, which is just a terrible feeling. Good for them, and especially good for Justin Fields. And hey, one more shout out, Anthony Weaver. I know that it was Kirk Cousins. I know, that the Falcons now suddenly look hapless. And I know Tua played well and the offense played well, but Anthony Weaver did a really nice job today with Miami's defense. And I think as a whole, like, for a team like that to go on the road, they're about broke, right? Like, everybody's about to get fired, and it's doom and gloom in a building like that. For them to come up with a win like that, again, nice job by that coaching staff. They were kind of on the brink. I still think they're on the brink, but it shows that players will play hard for Anthony Weaver, or for Mike, because it looked pretty hopeless this week. So totally fucking terrible day of football. Gonna need it to culminate with a Green Bay Packers win, or I'm not gonna sleep well tonight, if you know what I'm saying. So come back tomorrow for the live show. I'll have a better handle on everything. But how about that Thursday night though? The wire thing, and then Al Michaels going rogue, and he's the perfect guy to do it, because who could give a fuck less than Al Michaels, right? Honestly. And they're like, hey, Al, you can't say that. And he's like, okay, no problem. Meanwhile, the NFL just called and they said that that was an optical illusion in the UK on the kick. What else did he say? He said some other shit. He said, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Al Michaels has had it, bro. I don't blame him. I'm 40. I've had it. Fuck. Can't even imagine what the fuck I'm going to be doing if I turn 80 at some point. All right, y'all. And listen, dude, I can't finish this without saying this. The Nick Mangold thing is crushing. It's absolutely crushing. People love that guy. I mean, watching Rex Ryan talk about him, and obviously with Doug Martin and everything happening last week, obviously two very different situations, but life is fucking hard, man. And the older you get, the more you realize it. You look around and, people pass away and shit like that happens. And you should just check on your people, man. Check on your people in the case of like a Doug Martin, and be appreciative of every day, because that Nick Mangold thing kind of came out of nowhere. I know that he was just asking for a kidney and that sort of thing, but I thought he had more time. You know, I lost a teammate earlier this year, Brian Brayman, and you know that escalated real quickly. And so, you know, it's just a rough year for that sort of thing. And it just feels like when you get older, you know, you see more of it, more of your peers going through stuff, or God forbid passing away. So just a really terrible thing hearing about Nick Mangold. He was an incredible player and was a very nice man. I mean, I got a chance to hang out with him at the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. He was on Green Light doing a live show with us, and just such a gentle, kind dude, but he was such a monster on the field. And, you know, I can always tell after these things, like how it hurts teammates that play with guys. And so love up on your people, and you know, just be appreciative every day you have, right? So we will see you tomorrow, 2:00 live show. Appreciate you.